Hi guys, AstroCass back with a quick astrology update. This one is for my celebrity series or historical figures through history. I'm kind of doing a series just on different people, and this one has been highly requested by a lot of people. It's Eminem's chart, so we're going to have a bit of a chat about that one. But before we jump into it, definitely please help me grow my channel. If you can give us a like, subscribe, I would really appreciate that. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss anything, and definitely comment down below and let me know what you think about this reading and what you think about Eminem and how this energy, I guess, all resonates. And if you're an astrologer, I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you're seeing in his chart. It will just be kind of a quick overview. There's always a lot to look at in people's charts, but with Eminem's chart, we don't actually have his time of birth, which means we don't have the houses. So we don't have the rising sign, we don't have the houses because we don't have his time of birth. However, I feel like he potentially could be either an Aquarius rising or maybe a Scorpio rising. That's just kind of intuitively kind of what I think he could be, but 100% we don't know because we don't have that time of birth, so we can't be 100% accurate with that. But what we will talk about is just his astrology placements and how that can kind of impact his personality. Obviously, if you grew up in the 90s, you're probably very familiar with him. And recently, I think there have been a lot of people that have tried to cancel his music and cancel Eminem because obviously a lot of the younger generation are finding a lot of the stuff quite offensive, but a lot of the 90s, maybe the early 2000 people kind of, we grew up with some of this stuff. So, I mean, a lot of us really enjoyed his rap style and his personality. I think a lot of, I guess, the 90s babies didn't really take this as offense. They kind of took it as a lot of humor and a bit of fun. But I thought that's what makes him so interesting, and that's probably, what's worth diving into and having a look into that side of his personality, and I guess what kind of sparks that passion in him and his drive. So without further ado, let's jump right in and have a look. As I said, we can't do the rising sign, so I'm going to talk about his personal planets and a little bit about the outer planets and how that can kind of impact his personality style and, I guess, who he is as a person. So first of all, let's start off with the sun, because the sun is how you shine. It's what people notice about you. It's like your ego, it's your vitality, your life force. It's also your creative energy. The sun and Saturn also represent the father in a natal chart, and the moon and to some degree Venus can represent the mother or female relationship. So keep that in mind when we are talking about his chart. So he has a sun in Libra. So I was very surprised by this. I was surprised that he has quite strong Libra placements. But when we think about Libra, we think about the scales. It's an air sign, so air links to communication. Libra is very diplomatic. It is very much about justice, peace, harmony. It's about cooperation. It doesn't like conflicts. And it's also one of the zodiac signs that has a lot of trouble making up their mind and making a decision. They usually sit on the fence. They take a while to weigh up the options. That's kind of like that scales. But yes, they are definitely very diplomatic. They can be very socially charming as well. And with a Libra sun, you can put a lot of your identity, because the sun does link to your identity. You can put a lot of that onto another person. So I guess the best way to explain this is that I guess the way you see yourself is through your close one-on-one relationships or through your romantic or marriage partners. So I guess people with these kind of placements can really struggle to see themselves as a person or see who they are if they're not inside a relationship. They've really just struggle to feel fulfilled and a lot of their personality is through relationships and through, marriage, that kind of thing. Obviously, that will always change depending on the aspects to the sun, and it will also change depending on the house, but we don't know the houses, so we can't get into any more depth other than knowing that romantic relationships and like sometimes marriage and those close one-on-one relationships are a huge part of his personality and are very important to him. He's also got Uranus there, which is not very far away from the sun. It's about a 5-degree orb. So this adds a layer of that Aquarius Uranian energy to his sun sign in Libra. So he does have a huge focus on relationships, close one-on-one relationships, and diplomacy and peace and harmony, all those Libra traits. That's how he shines. He's networking and who he knows. But there is a side to him that is very rebellious, very quirky, very unique, very authentic. Likes to break the rules, likes to shake things up again. Likes to shake things up a little bit. These people can be very much in their higher mind as well. So think about, Mercury is the lower octave and then Uranus is like the higher octave. These people can be quite, they're very smart, they're geniuses, so they can be quite inventive. So this is really interesting energy to have with your sun. It kind of shows like a lot of changes and shocks and surprises with your personality as well. So I just thought that was super interesting for him to have that kind of combination. And I think him as a person, we definitely do see that cheeky, rebellious side to him. And we also I feel like we see a lot of authenticity from him as well. I don't think he ever really followed the norm, and especially as he gained fame and become a little bit more well-known, he was never afraid to do things that were very controversial and off the beaten path. Like, he was definitely one of those people that didn't care if he shocked people or surprised them. If anything, that's kind of what he aimed to do, especially with his music and with his art. He was definitely one of those people that didn't mind to shock and surprise people. So I thought that was very interesting to see that combination as well. He also has his Mars there in Libra as well. So Mars is the planet of action, passion. It's what we're fighting for and fighting with. So it's all about our motivation, our drive, and how we're taking action. So again, this is in Libra. It's that Libra energy, so relationships, other people, networking. That's what motivates him and drives him. So again, that's also very interesting thing to have so much of a big stellium there. Like, there's 4 planets in that Libra zodiac sign for him. If you use whole sign houses, that's like a stellium in that house, wherever that plays out. If we knew his time of birth, we'd know more. But having a stellium of planets in one zodiac sign, especially if they rule multiple different houses, that is a huge amount of energy and a big part of their personality. So not only do we have Mars there, but we've also got Pluto. So Pluto is the planet of like transformation, of crisis, of power and control. So this also shows that there is a part of him that has a lot of power and control within relationships. It can also show that there probably have been times where he's had issues within his close one-on-one relationships or his marriage partnerships, where there's been a lot of issues with power and control. So maybe sometimes he's giving away too much power and control to his marriage partner or his romantic partner. That can always it can go either way. Either he's the one that's holding all the power, or he could be the one kind of giving away that power and control. Pluto brings out big issues with like manipulation, power, control, but it also brings through a lot of transformation. So we can't forget to talk about the moon. So his moon is in Aquarius at 19 degrees. So this is again very super interesting, because remember, the sun is with Uranus there, giving him a big flavor of Aquarius energy to his sun. But then we also have the moon in Aquarius, and the moon represents the mother. So when the moon is in Aquarius, this can sometimes show a mother that is a little bit detached, maybe not very emotional, and could be like a little bit, yeah, like just not overly motherly and nurturing. Which I guess if you followed his upbringing and I guess like all the stories about Eminem, then him and his mother definitely had a very strained relationship. And he sings about her a lot in his songs. Obviously, I'm sure it wasn't all bad. I'm sure that there are a lot of positives as well, but there's definitely a bit of strain in a relationship with an Aquarius moon, especially if there's some squares. And he does have a square from his Mercury to that moon, which shows like challenges and tension with communication. And that Mercury is in Scorpio, so that can be about like trauma, childhood trauma, especially through words and communication. So you might have been exposed to a lot of things, a lot of criminal behaviors, or a lot of just criminals, or just a lot of trauma as a child through his mother that kind of strained their relationship there. So that can be a little bit difficult, which, as I said, is pretty evident in their relationship when you kind of hear some of his stories about his mum and, I guess the way he was brought up as a child. However, there are some positive aspects. He does have, a trine from Saturn in Gemini to that moon. And he also has a trine from that Uranus and the sun that is in Libra. So he actually has a grand trine in air. So Aquarius, Gemini, and Libra, those planets in those zodiac signs are forming a trine, that blue triangle there. So that's a grand trine, or yeah, a great trine. This is really powerful to see in somebody's chart, because that shows that there are, connections between all of those planets in those air signs that are working harmoniously together and supporting this person through their life. So there are a lot of foundations with that Saturn in Gemini, through writing, through communication, a lot of hard work, responsibility, but a lot of foundations there that support that moon. And then there's also the sun and Uranus. There's relationships and connections and networks that also try and support that moon as well. So there are a lot of positive aspects happening there with that grand trine. And when you've got a grand trine in air signs, these people are going to be great communicators, good talkers, good thinkers, good writers. The air signs are very, very logical. So this is probably why he was such a good rapper. He was also considered by a lot of people as a really good, very lyrical, a lyrical genius. So if he did write all his music and his rap songs, which I believe, I'm pretty sure from what I understand, he does write all of his own raps and music. So obviously, like the clubs that you kind of see him kind of obviously, state when he's collabing with people. But I believe the majority of his stuff he has produced himself, which is no surprise for somebody that has a grand trine in an air sign, because they are going to be, as I said, really quick thinkers, really good with communicating and writing. So I wasn't shocked at all to see that. I guess the only personal planets we haven't spoken a bit more about is that Mercury in Scorpio. I 100% was not surprised to see that he had a Mercury in Scorpio. I also wouldn't be surprised, as I said, if he was a Scorpio rising. But a Mercury in Scorpio is somebody, now Mercury is the mind, it's our thoughts, it's our communication. It also links to siblings. This shows somebody that the way that they think and the way that they communicate is very, very Scorpion. It is, they can be emotional, but this is like really deep, fixed emotions. they can be ruthless. If you get on their wrong side, you piss them off, they will be vengeful and they will come for you. And they know the exact spot because Scorpio placements, they stand back, they observe, they take everything in. They know the secrets, they know the criminal behaviors that are happening, they know the trauma, they know all the hidden stuff that's going on. And you piss them off, they know exactly the right spot. They're very psychological as well. They know the exact way to kind of you, like they will take you down with their words if you get on their bad side. But they are also very loyal. And like they're also, as I said, they are very psychological, so they can be very empathetic. They can also see things for what they are. They've got really good BS radars, so they can see the truth. They're very intuitive. They can see the truth in situations and they can see through the BS, as I said, like they're really good with that. So you don't ever want to lie to anyone with Scorpio placements because they will see right through you. And if you lie to them, you'll end up on their bad side. As I said, they're very loyal. They will stand by you. And the thing is that Scorpio energy links to Hades and the underworld. So anyone with Scorpio placements, the way I kind of see it in my head is that they will fight for you. They will protect you. It's just like a Scorpio has that really hard armor and they're kind of poisonous. They're poisonous and like their tail and stinger reminds me of like their vengeful side, but like their whole the whole body just reminds me of like armor. So these people are strong and they will go to hell and they will fight for you. So these people aren't afraid of dying and they're not afraid of getting in the dirt and they're not afraid of like those scary moments because they have been through stuff and they have seen stuff. And that's why they have those Scorpio placements. So it's not always an easy time with Scorpio placements. However, if those placements have good aspects, again, that will change the way that all plays out because aspects are everything. They will add extra complexity and layers to this person and their personality. So I feel like for Eminem, obviously that Mercury in Scorpio, Venus sends a sextile to that. So sextiles are like support. So relationship, women, and money, all those Venusian topics, they can support that Mercury, his communication, his words, his thoughts. So relationship and women can certainly help him in that area. However, obviously the moon, where's that Mercury? So that's where the challenge and the tension comes from, is from his mother and from his early childhood upbringing. And with that Aquarius moon, he could have trouble with things like thinking that he doesn't fit in, like feeling like he's an outcast. The squares kind of they form like tension and like conflicts and challenges. So that square to that moon in Aquarius kind of makes me think that, you know, there could be underlying issues with a fear of rejection or a fear of like feeling like I'm weird or like I'm outcasted, like I'm not able to be a part of the community. And that very well could be because of his mother and his mother's actions or his home and family life. So I think his childhood, his home, his family, the way his mother raised him, definitely could have impacted his fear of abandonment or fear of being rejected or not fitting in. And I feel like that's probably why he kind of grew to be one of those people that has a bit of more of a rebellious streak and somebody that's more authentic and doesn't care, because I feel like, you know, he probably grew into those sides of him. But yeah, with an Aquarius moon, I forgot to also say that he, with his emotions, he will probably be quite logical and reasonable with his emotions. Like his emotions won't be like fluid and watery and like normal emotions as such. Like when you think about somebody who's like crying and breaking down, like when a moon is in an air sign, these people put logic first. They think through their feelings. So It's not to say they don't have feelings, just they express them differently and they're more logical and reasonable with how they feel, if that makes sense. And they also find security and comfort through things like technology, through finding the right tribe and community, by having the right friends. They find a lot of security by that. So I feel like his friendships and the people that are like the close, he's like close friendship tribe, will definitely be a big support on him feeling like comfortable and secure. Sorry. I guess we've spoken about most of his personal placements apart from Venus. So with Venus, his Venus is in Virgo, so it's actually classified as being in fall. Now, that just means that that planet just doesn't work as well. It's not comfortable here. It doesn't like being here because it's basically in a zodiac sign that is really challenging for it to be in. So it can't express that planet's energy very well. Now, when we're talking about Venus, this is to do with Venusian topics. So I think love, romance, relationships, money, values. When Venus is in Virgo, these people tend to value purity, things that are probably more based around routine and organization. They like everything to be kind of like orderly. Generally, they like things to be clean, so like a clean home, clean environment. They also typically value their health and fitness. They can be really peculiar and picky with their food, with like their, as I said, their home environment and like the cleanliness of their house. So, think housework all being done like a certain order. They like everything to be in their place. So everything in their house is probably pretty well organized. Now, there are some exceptions to this because obviously the house that it's in will change, I guess, your interpretation of that Virgo Venus, and also aspects will change that as well. But generally, a Virgo Venus, they really value like health, and not just health as in like going to the gym, eating healthy, drinking right, having their vitamins. But it's also their skincare. Like Virgos can be very particular with skincare. Very particular with their skincare and like natural products as well. So that is something to keep in mind, that that's something that they value and that's what they find really rewarding. It's things that they really enjoy. So obviously if we knew the house this was in, it would tell us more information about that Virgo Venus. But it also shows that the way he kind of makes money and spends money, because Venus does kind of rule over money, can be in a very Virgo way, which is they're very detail orientated. They pay a lot of attention to detail. As I said, very organized, very practical. It is an earth sign. So they can be quite good with money, really good with attention to details. They can make money through being of service, through any of those Virgo kind of traits, where they're like analyzing or being critical, where things are like, working around routine, all that kind of stuff. That Venus also has a sextile to Mercury, which we kind of already spoke about before. This can be somebody that has a very, how do I explain this? Because Venus rules over like love, right, and relationships. They can have a very loving way of communicating because it's sextile Mercury, which means that there's support there to communication. So Venus and Mercury communicating to each other, that can be someone that's got a very loving communication style. It can also give them a very pleasant voice. But because the Venus is in Virgo, this can also show that someone is very, the way they communicate can be very critical and very much attention to detail based, and, I guess like, a little bit analytical and critical, but in a positive way, in a supporting way. So these people with this kind of placement and aspect, they can be very helpful to other people. They can be very, very generous and I guess the way they communicate and explain things is to help and be of service to other people. So that's a really nice aspect to have. But there is also a square from Saturn to that Venus. So a square from Saturn, which is one of the malefic planets, can be quite challenging. It can play out in a lot of different ways. Sometimes Saturn square Venus can show challenges with love and romance. The squares are tension, they're challenges. So it can show that somebody can get married at quite a young age and have a lot of trouble and be very, I guess, not immature, but they can get into a marriage or a very serious relationship, romantic relationship, where they're kind of forced to be responsible and grow up really quickly, or the relationship might not work because they were too young and not responsible enough. So that's one way that square energy between Saturn and Venus can play out, because Saturn's all about foundations, responsibility, hard work. It gets better with time. So the other way you can interpret that Saturn square Venus could be that a person might find love later in life. So like after their 30s, after their Saturn return, because there can be a lot of challenges, a lot of mismatch, a lot of fear around relationship and dating and love and money because of that square there. So these people might find a relationship or might date or be more romantic and get married later on in life. So there's a few different two different interpretations on kind of how I see that energy potentially playing out for a person. But obviously, I think we know his situation with Kim and with his daughter, Haley. So obviously we know that, he has had serious relationships. We know that he's had a kid, all that kind of stuff. So again, if we knew the houses, all of this stuff would be a lot easier to kind of interpret, but we're just going off the planets and what zodiac signs they're placed in. I guess he's got the outer planets as well. So he's got Neptune in Sagittarius. Neptune usually links to our spirituality, our creativity. So being in Sagittarius, this is a very fun, humorous, adventurous sign. He's also got Jupiter in Taurus. His North Node's also in Taurus. So Jupiter in Taurus, Jupiter brings in our chart, it shows the area where we can have a lot of growth, expansion, sometimes luck, blessings, and abundance as well. Again, it depends on the aspects between planets. In Taurus, that can be around money, food, security, all those Taurian kind of things in our life. Again, we don't know the houses, but yeah, Jupiter's just going to show that he can have a lot of luck and blessings around, money or resources, materials, basically. And he's got Saturn, as I mentioned before, Saturn in Gemini. This can show sometimes issues with communicating or writing, especially at a young age, because he has those trines from his moon and from his sun and Uranus. That's actually more beneficial. So this shows that from quite a young age, he might have developed some really great foundations and skills with writing and with communicating. This could have come through being bullied or a little bit of hard work, but it just shows that from a very young age, he set some really strong foundations to build up a really great way of communicating through his voice, like verbally, but also through writing, and that could, link to his song lyrics and writing music. I imagine he was doing that at a very, very young age. And finally, he has Chiron in Aries. Now, Chiron is the wounded healer. So it shows where in our chart we have the most wounds, but also where we can help people heal or where we can do the most healing. So he's in Aries. Aries kind of links to the energy of us being courageous and bold, being like independent, being pioneering, being entrepreneurs. So there can be some wounds around that masculine energy with like confidence, with being a bit of a warrior, with being brave and being independent. But obviously, yeah, where there's wounds, we learn how to kind of heal, and we can also help heal others. Um, Overall, I was very surprised that he has so much Libra energy. I would really love to know what house that's in, and where that all plays out. But nonetheless, I really hope you enjoyed this chart reading and can kind of see where his brilliance, like lyrical skills, come with when it comes to rapping for him. And I hope I explained that well, because looking at his chart, it looks like from a very young age he works really hard. And that grand trine shows that through his life and through different events, he had actually a lot of support, a lot of motivation and drive to get into being a rapper. But obviously, it wasn't all easy. There are some squares and there are some challenges with that, but his chart is very fascinating. I wasn't surprised at all to see that Mercury in Scorpio, because just the way he writes a lot of his songs is very Aquarian, but very Scorpio as well. So, yeah, I found that very fascinating. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this reading. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to help me grow my channel. And please drop your comments below on, I guess, how this resonated for you, what you know about Eminem, what you found fascinating about this video, or just things that you know. Just let's chat. I love to communicate. I'm a Gemini, so get in the comments and let's talk. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.